On episode 1, you challenged me.
I could do a lot of strict pull-ups.
What is a lot to you? 10?
Well, more than you is a lot to me.
Saying you could do more pull-ups than I could.
Oh, you've been waiting to break this one out, huh?
Hello and welcome to the Net Gains Podcast. We're your hosts, Roger Parent.
And Frank Field.
I am an ex-CEO, former pro athlete, and father of 3.
And I'm currently competing on the AVP Pro Beach Volleyball Tour while also working at one of Roger's companies.
We discuss how highly successful people train their minds beyond the generic stop being lazy and push harder garbage you're probably used to hearing.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow each episode so you can get practical tips on how to build your elite mindset and accomplish some really cool things. Or don't, because we love adversity.
We love adversity.
All right, talk to me.
I just shot you a message in Slack that you can watch.
My God. All right, you're almost ready. Here we go.
Count them.
Here we go.
Count them.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You were struggling. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 and a half. Okay. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. It looked like, you were on like 7, and I was like, oh God, he's got like 2 left in him.
Yeah, I pushed through that. I had that mental goal of 15 because you said you could do 12 to 14, so.
If I put up this pull-up bar right now, cold, do you think I could do 15?
No.
Should I try it? I'll try it right now.
Go ahead.
This is
All right,
cold.
go ahead.
Everyone watching, YouTube feed, Net Gains Podcast. About to cold do 15 pull-ups right now. No, 16. I'll hit 16.
All right, go ahead. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, come on, get that chin over. 10. Get that chin over. 11. Chin over. 12. 13. No, 14. And a half. No. You know, the fact that we tied is unreal.
Oh my God. Arms are shaking.
Dude, I hope you tore every ounce of your lats. No, that was
No
impressive,
warm-up.
dude.
I
That
just
was impressive.
actually-
You crushed it.
For the listeners, I just actually got out of a 2.5-hour car ride too. I was coming up from visiting the lady's parents' house. Out of the car, just finished a burrito. And Roger's like, I got an hour. We got to record right now. And I just easily outpaced my pull-ups.
So you were amped and ready, is what you're saying. Easily outpaced me. I don't know. I call that a draw. I'll just do 17
I'm
next
wiped
time.
for this podcast now. Oh my God.
What are we talking about today?
Okay. Today we're talking about the art of not giving a damn. No copyright infringement. So we'll talk about some people that inspired us this week. We'll also talk about what that does not mean when we talk about not giving a bleep. We're going to give a couple perspectives on what this means to us. And then we will give you some pro strats to do this on your own.
Yeah, and to be clear, this episode is inspired by the book, The Art of, what is it? It's the subtle art of not giving a bleep. Who's the author? We should probably know that.
That's a good question. Yeah. Here, I got that. I can't even
Google
type,
it
dude.
while
My biceps.
the audience waits.
Oh my God, my
Make 'em
biceps
wait.
are fried. Okay. There's also a movie made about it, by the way, 2023.
I didn't know that.
Mark Manson is the author. And then, they released a movie last year.
Nice. Love that. It's a great book.
All right, so you want to talk about some newsworthy legends? So this first one, we found this article about a guy named Taylor Owen Mason. So just a little background on him. His wife has a functional neurological disorder where basically she has a lot of seizures and she's in and out of hospitals. And so in order to raise awareness for the disease and to help his wife, he set a world record of hitting a tire with a sledgehammer 30,000 times. He did that.
How did you find this story?
Well, I searched for inspiring people stories, basically. And he actually shattered his own unofficial world record. So he had previously done this 20,000 times, and then he did it 30,000 times. And again, this was in a little over 12 hours. So his hands, he said afterwards, his hands were so swollen, he couldn't put a T-shirt on by himself for a week.
That's unbelievable.
Pretty crazy.
What do you think gives him the idea to do that? He just ChatGPT, obscure world records, and just went after it?
What is going to punish me the most that no one is ever going to think I'd do?
I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Well,
30,000 times.
Yeah, he talked about when he was a kid, he was very obese, and I guess people do that. They hit tires with sledgehammers. That's kind of a workout that I've heard about before. And so we'll put up a picture of him. There's a picture of him wearing the jeans that he wore when he was a teenager, and they're double the size of what he is now. I guess maybe he did this as a way to lose weight, and then he also wanted to go a step further and help his wife, kind of create some awareness for the disease.
That's awesome, dude. I love when people are doing crazy things for a purpose too.
Yeah,
it's to help people.
Yeah, but also how much toughness you'd have to go from your hands are swollen, and then it's the same thing we talked about with the pull-up guy where he tore his bicep and then did another 1,000 reps. This dude, his hands must have been so swollen, and then he kept going for another 3 hours, right? If you're just gripping a sledgehammer for 12 hours straight and just whacking a tire, could you imagine?
And it's the same exact muscle sequence every time, just like the pull-ups, right? You're just, I'm sure the pull-up guy's legs were fine, right? But it's just, that amount of reps on a single muscle group is insane. I just don't know how you don't tear everything.
I just did 15 and I'm gassed.
Yeah, you're mentally weak, so.
No, but I wonder if he was switching sides, going over his right shoulder and over his left shoulder. If it was just the same shoulder 30,000 times in a row, dude, I can't even imagine. Or
is there is there a requirement to this? How hard he has to hit the tire?
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't want to discount the guy, right? Because regardless, but
incredible
just to
feat.
pick the thing up 30,000 times.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he was whacking the heck out of the thing.
Yeah, it is also unofficial Guinness World Record. So there is a Guinness World Record for the most tire smashes in 1 minute, but I guess he would have had to pay to get himself in the world record book for this record, and I don't know, he didn't want to do it. So Guinness, let's get this guy on a record book, huh?
Because it's a new record?
He might have just made it up. He legitimately might have just made this challenge up.
That's awesome. And how does Guinness go about, don't they get raters that come out? You have to contact them or whatever?
Yeah, to get in the book, I'm pretty sure there has to be somebody present to actually eyewitness the record. And maybe they time it or whatever they need to do just to make sure it's all above board.
Okay. Sweet. Well,
we could have Roger Parent set the record for softest CEO.
I'm not a CEO anymore. I retired. So I'll call myself a soft CEO now. I'm fine with that. See, that was a reframe right there.
Nice. That was good. That was quick, too.
Yeah, you like that? We learned something from our homework last week. All right, moving on. Jack Canfield, the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. You wrote here, Chicken Soup for the Soup. Nice. So it was definitely chicken soup for the soul.
Chicken soup for the soul. Did I mention that I just got out of a 3-hour car ride?
Yeah, so
I think I'm going to keep it going up with that, by the way. By the end of the episode, it will have been like a 6-hour car ride cross country or something.
Yeah, it was probably like 20 minutes. It was probably like a bike ride too. All right, so Jack Canfield pitched the book to 130 different publishers. After 100 pitches, his agent dropped him as well. The theme was no one wants to read 100 inspirational stories. They were finally picked up by a small publisher in Florida. Now there are over 250 Chicken Soup for the Soup books and over 500 million copies sold worldwide, which is wild. So a great feat of adversity there, just slamming his book down everyone's throats until it became successful.
I think a great feat of adversity was you trying to read those bullets.
I just couldn't get over. I can't get over your grammar because for the listeners that don't understand, when Frank and I put together a rough outline for the podcast, we just literally put shit in a Google Doc, and when we do that, I get to see Frank type.
Oh man!
And it is like unfathomably bad. He's a very smart guy. This guy, every other word is completely misspelled, and it is
and
it's
slow.
rough, dude.
It's slow typing too. I'm not even like going slow and getting it right. I'm going slow and misspelling every other word, and yeah,
it's rough. We need to get you on. What was it? I might be showing my age here, but remember microtype? Or are you too young for that?
I have no idea what that is.
Microtype. I learned that when I was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, somewhere around there. It was just like typing lessons at school for Guam. No, never heard of it. Gross words per minute. Words a minute.
Gross words.
I think it's gross words a minute. Let's hope so.
Okay.
But yes. Yeah, microtype. Look it up. It's great.
All I remember from my only keyboard typing class I had was in middle school, and I learned about caps lock. And I was caps locking every time to, when you start a sentence, you obviously start with a capitalized letter. And I would caps lock every time to type a capital instead of just shift pressing the letter. And I was like, well, why can't I just do that? It's fun. I hit caps lock. And then she was like, no, it's so inefficient. Don't do that. Just shift and then press the letter. And I've always remembered that lesson.
Yeah, that's tough.
It obviously didn't make a lot of effect.
I knew someone who typed in caps. And they held shift whenever they weren't typing a capital letter.
No, that's not true.
I don't know why.
That can't be true.
I don't know why.
You're telling me they were always on caps lock and then would shift to hold down shift to uncap lock?
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But this was also 15 years ago, so who knows? I'm assuming they've changed it since.
I need this person outed. This person we might.
I'm not outing the person. I'm not doing that. But it is hilariously bad.
Was it Joel?
But anyway, no, we'll get you some lessons.
Melissa,
right, you ready to jump into our topics?
Can I keep guessing people until I find out who it was?
No, you can't keep guessing people. I'm going to jump. I'm just going to start. I'm going to keep going.
So the topic for today, outside of us just rambling about nothing so far and doing pull-ups, is, what is the topic? Oh yeah, not giving a damn or not giving a bleep. So first, you wanted to, since this kind of is you can look at this in kind of a negative light, not giving an F about anything. So why don't you tell everybody what this does not mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's super important that I think people will look at the book and be like, oh, I just go around not caring about anything. But that's not what this means, right? We're not talking about not caring about anything, not having empathy, being unwilling to change, that kind of toxic behavior, right? And Frank and I have actually pretty different perspectives on how we came to learning this concept. So we'll go through each of them. But I think it's, I just want to get out there that it's not the toxic meaning of it when it comes to just not caring about others and being unwilling to change yourself and just kind of like everything negative that you could probably think about when you first hear that or react to that that book title. And then you have another note here: using people around you for personal gain too doesn't apply. That's not what we're talking about.
Just don't be a jerk. Is not what we're trying to say here.
Yep.
But yeah, I think let's just transition into your perspective, because I think that might color the episode for people and for me. Because you had a story you wanted to share that kind of related to this topic, and it's kind of what I guess got you on the road towards understanding what the meaning behind this was.
Yeah, and little does the guy know. So actually,
Little guy, and he's a little guy too.
He is a short guy. Sorry, Garrett. So, friend of the show, producer, video editor of the show, Garrett Buckland. You can find him at Game by the Beach.
Yeah.
At Game by the Beach. Garrett is a good friend of ours, fellow volleyball player. And when I first met Garrett, pretty far into my volleyball career, like my first impression of him was, this guy does not care about anything. Like, he just crawled out of bed, walks onto the beach, and is just good at volleyball. And I was sort of going through a run of all these tournament wins in New England, and Garrett beat me like multiple times. And it was super frustrating because I felt like I'm like, I care so much more than this guy. I put so much more effort in. I put so much time. I study film, and this dude just like seems to just walk up onto the beach, not care, and just is great. And that was like really hard ego-wise to accept that and understand that. So as I got older, I started to realize, as I got to know Garrett, this dude cares a lot. Like, he works his tail off. He does a great job. He
Thinks about the game in a
looks
smart
at
way,
film.
too. Yep.
Yeah, thinks about the game so smart. He's just like a really good dude. At some point, we'll have him on the podcast, but I'm not sure we're ready for that increase in female viewership. Yeah. So we're not ready to skyrocket the audience that much yet.
Yeah.
But at some point, he'll be on the podcast with us.
In line first.
Yeah. So I think, one thing that he taught me that he doesn't even know until we're recording this, that he taught me, which was how to like put things in perspective. At one point, as I got to know him more, I was talking to him about mental toughness and clutch moments and things. And he said, dude, it's just volleyball. And I was like, that's like a really interesting way of thinking about it. Like, I took a lot from that one sort of blasé by him statement that once I had kids and things like that, and it was just like, man, I have kids I've made and, and this, like, what is volleyball? It's just a game. I'm having a great time, and I became a lot more grateful to be there, and I actually started performing way better. And that was when you and I qualified on the Pro Tour, was when I just like had a great time, right? I was just enjoying myself and put less pressure on myself. So I think for me, Garrett was like a really impactful person to sort of like show me that it's not a negative thing, but, coming off as not caring, it's not that you don't care. It's just putting things into perspective more. So that's been my perspective on this sort of topic, and how I became a lot better in those clutch moments, as I learned that.
Yeah, it's funny because Garrett's a year younger than I am. So as we were both coming up in college and just starting to play beach together, we were young. I saw the same thing, right? We would be on, and I was more in your shoes than I was in his shoes, where we'd be on the court together and playing in these matches, and I cared so much about winning. I'm like, I would think about it all week, and then we get to the tournament time, and it's like, God, I want to win so bad. And he's on the court next to me, just whatever, like slouching around and walking with the rounded shoulders like he does, and he's like, he literally looks like he does not give an F about the outcome of the game, right? And then without fail, he would always play really well in these games and perform well in the tight moments and be unfazed by anything. And I was kind of the same as you, where it took me a while to like reconcile it. And it was almost like, I don't know if like jealousy is the right word or animosity is the right word, but it's like, how can this guy play so well in these circumstances when he doesn't care, you know? And it's hard to understand it until you do. But yeah, it really is. It really is just about putting things in perspective. So I can totally relate to that story.
Yeah, we got to be careful about building him up too much. I don't want his head to get any bigger. But at least we're way taller than him.
True. We got
So
that.
makes me feel better. But,
I don't think he's doing
yeah,
15
no,
pull-ups though either.
yeah, that's true.
I
That's
think
true.
we got him
There's
beat
no
on
way.
pull-ups.
We do. We do. Yeah. So yeah, he's a super good dude, and it's learned a lot from him, and glad to have him working with us on the show.
And by the way, just to say too, like, love competing with a guy like that too. When you kind of finally do understand it, it's like, oh my God, this dude is amazing to play with in those moments. Because it is like a very like settling experience for me too when I'm on the court with him, where it's just like, oh, I can just like hang out and chill and just play some volleyball. And even in these clutch moments, it's just, oh, we're still just chilling and doing our thing.
Yeah, I got that from playing with him too, specifically. Right? Is he just has no ups and downs. It's just like a super consistent player, and that was, same sort of experience. So we both shared the court with him, and that's a lot of lessons to be learned there. But you, so on the art of not giving a damn, you have a very different perspective, tying into like your relationships and stuff. So would love to hear about kind of your thought process with it.
Yeah. So when we kind of like posed this topic for this episode, we weren't really sure where to go with it, because there's so many interpretations of not giving a damn, right? And we kind of went over what it does not mean, but what does it mean? And so we thought the best way to go through it was kind of explaining each of our perspectives on what it means to us and how we interpret it. And I'm sure everyone listening has a different perspective on their side as well. But when I thought about this topic, the way it resonated most to me and where it most impacted my life was through interpersonal relationships. And when I was younger, and when I say when I was younger, this is almost like 2 years ago. It took me until my mid-20s to kind of figure it out. But a lot of where I saw the shortcomings here was wanting people to like me. And, going out of my way to almost change personality or change the way I acted in certain groups to make those people like me, right? And it's just a really tough way to live, because you're not being yourself, and you're trying to please other people, and you're, in the opposite sense of this phrase, giving a lot of care into what people think about you all the time, right? Thinking back on how you acted in a certain situation, like, was that right? Was that wrong? What did they think about this? And it's just such a toxic way to, talk to yourself, So, kind of going through this, I started to think about, well, these people that I'm trying so hard to please, what am I getting out of this? Like, do I even really like these people? Do I like these people I'm surrounding myself with? And I think that was important for me when I finally did see the switch flip. I really just took it to heart to just be myself in more situations. And as I started to do this by just being myself more often, I actually started attracting people that I enjoyed being around more, because they liked me for who I really was. I liked them for who they were. And that almost attracted a better circle. I didn't have to worry about what they thought about me. I didn't have to worry about acting a certain way to keep them liking me. And it really just made a better experience in terms of the friends that I attracted and the relationships that I made. So that was kind of the way that I interpreted that. And I guess just to round it out, I found this in dating a lot too. And a couple years ago, I started to figure this piece out, that why would I try to change who I am to attract somebody just to get a date or whatever it may be, right? And now, I have an amazing girlfriend now, and we live together, and we've been together for just under 8 months. And I don't think I could have found her in my life until I started caring less about what other people thought and just being myself. So I don't know. I feel like I got a little bit deep there, and I didn't necessarily mean to coming into this topic, but I'll pass it off to you just on your thoughts on that.
I'm not used to this serious side of
I
you.
know what's going on. Move past.
Yeah. So the a couple things. One, having it, acting in a certain way, like being yourself, and then being who you attract, actually applies so much to business and career too. Like, so Digital Position is the agency that I own, that Frank works for, and it's a marketing agency. And we were kind of taking on all types of clients, B2B clients, direct to consumer, e-commerce, all types of industries. And the new CEO who took over for me is currently right now bringing a new lens to the company that I really love, which is we're all athletes. Like we across our team, we have so many athletes, active and healthy lifestyle people. And so we're just going to, instead of trying to have our website and the way we present ourselves be all about all encompassing, we're going to just be like athletes, right? Like that's what we're going to say. We're the e-commerce agency, marketing agency for like e-commerce, like athletic brands, active and healthy lifestyle brands, right? We're just going to embrace who we are, and we'll attract those people more. So you see this in business all the time. Whenever you try to be so much to so many people and you cast this super wide net, you end up not selling anybody. But if I own an active and healthy lifestyle brand and I'm looking for a marketing agency and I see a marketing agency for active and healthy lifestyle brands, and I see like all the leadership is all like athletes, and you know, like we have stats of people on their website and like different hobbies that they enjoy, and we do like water challenges. Like even our internal culture is around being like athletic and healthy. That's the agency I'm clearly going to hire over some generic agency, right? So I think you see this not only in the relationship side, but in your business side too, where what is it? The riches are in the niches or whatever.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So I don't even know if it's niche or niche, but I'm going to just say the riches are in the niches.
It sounds better.
And yeah. And there's just way more money to be made, and you perform way better on both a personal and a career side when you are going to just be more specialized and be who you are.
And it's almost like counterintuitive too, right? Where the first couple steps taken in that direction are pretty scary, right? When you think of a business perspective, like, okay, we're cutting down our pool of potential clients from everything to just this little niche, riches to niches, this little niche. And you might even take a short-term hit off that, right? Where it's like less business is coming in, or, you know, if you think about it, interpersonal relationships, you have less friends or you have less people in your circle, right? But then the long-term macro effects of that is that the people in your circle that you do come across are just so much better suited for you, and you can really just enjoy those relationships more.
Yeah. And even in my early entrepreneur days, I remember like Digital Position was started as a company that was like just me doing anything and everything. I would design websites for you. I would do development for you and all these different services that we no longer offer as we specialized, right? But I was like, I used to say, like, I'll sweep your floors if you want me to, as long as I'm working for myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was just like, just trying to provide value. But it wasn't until later on that I learned like that was horrible, because then I could never be great at any one of those things. I could never truly embrace what I was great at and what I enjoyed doing. And I think that's part of it, right? Like embrace it and accept yourself. And, you know, it doesn't mean you're not working on yourself and trying to be better, but what are the people you enjoy being around? What are the clients you enjoy being around, you know? And if you are more like that persona, you'll attract more people like you.
Yeah. And there's almost no better feeling too than when someone does accept you for who you are in that way, right? When you're truly being yourself and then someone accepts you for that and you accept them for who they are. I mean, shoot, what better feeling in life is there than that?
Yeah, I mean, that's when you get like really, really deep relationships. I mean, you're talking about like your girlfriend, right? And it's like those relationships can be so much deeper if you really can connect on the types of adversity you go through during that personality type and things like that. There's a lot that you can connect on with clients on, like, oh, they get it too, because I found that active and healthy lifestyle clients they're like totally okay with me leaving in the middle of the day to go work out or whatever. They're just like, oh, go get it, right? Because they just get it. They do the same thing, right? So it's better for me and my more flexible lifestyle, you know? So yeah, I love that. So the question becomes, unless you have anything else to say on that,
No, go ahead, move on.
Yeah, is what do we choose? How do we choose what to give a damn about?
Topic 3, choosing what to give a damn about. And this was kind of a key from the book. And, in the book, there's a lot of strategies on, not giving an F in certain ways. But the biggest theme that I took away from the book was the key is not to give less of a damn about everything, but being more selective with the things that you do choose to give a damn about. There are things in your life that you enjoy doing and you do want to care about, but there's others that you're just wasting mental energy on and stressing yourself out and becoming emotionally unstable over things that don't really matter. So that was the biggest takeaway that I saw, and I'm curious if you saw the same thing, but it was just kind of being selective about these things to give an F about.
Yeah, exactly. I think we are emotional beings, and we're emotionally reacting to things all day, every day. And that is what makes this so incredibly difficult. And just even through my own like personal journey, like I'm a minimalist who cares a lot about his house being clean, but I also have 3 kids, right? There were certain things that I had to learn, like it was important to me that I have a clean office. Like I have my own space that I can retreat to and like feel mentally like really at peace here because I just don't have stuff all over the floor, toys, whatever. But I had to accept the fact that like, hey, the kids' rooms are going to get messy. They have a playroom and it was like I had to, instead of letting that stuff bother me, had to put that in perspective and sort of determine what was important and not. To me, it was important to have a space that I could it could be a control thing. It could be that like I could sort of control that wasn't just like kids dumping all over it. But that doesn't mean that I need to, overforce my kids to be extremist minimalists, right? Like, I obviously want them to be generally clean, to pick up after themselves and all that, but it's not like I'm very clean, right? So, yeah, that's just like an example of like trying to figure out for me what is more of like the extreme side of me that like really I shouldn't be that level of extreme and it's not important versus like what element of that is there that bothers me that I can like work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kind of our thinking with this episode was we had 3 different perspectives of what this thing was. Roger's was more about putting the things you care about into perspective when you are attacking them. Mine was more about interpersonal relationships, being true to who you are in order to give less of a care about what other people think. And the book's theme was choosing what to give a damn about so you can focus your mental energy on those things, which kind of segues us into the pro strat for this week, which is how to do this in your life. And we always try to give actionable advice on this. This was kind of a different episode in terms of it was us more just kind of riffing about our personal lives, which is something that I almost tried to get away from in terms of doing a podcast, not just talking about us, because it's not really about us. When I think of a podcast, I just want to help other people, not talk about my own life. But we found this was kind of the way to do it with this episode specifically. But again, we do want to give actionable advice. So we had a way to kind of do this and figure out in your life how to give a damn about the right things.
All right. So the pro strat for this week is your goal is to figure out 2 lists. First, 5 things that really trigger you emotionally. So think about maybe in the last couple of weeks, months, what are some things that have come up, whether they be at work, in your personal life, with your sports, whatever, that have triggered you emotionally. And then the second is think deeply about 5 things that you actually really care about. Like for me, I will not sacrifice anything for time for my kids, right? Like I'll never sacrifice time with my kids for anything. There's certain things in my life that I am not willing to give up that I care way too much about. And so, that means if that means my work goes unfinished, my work goes unfinished, period. It's just the way I operate. And so there are things that trigger me emotionally, like a messy house. And then there are things that I really care about. So that's our first list, things that trigger. Second, things you really care about. And then what we're going to try to do is see the overlap between those two lists. If something on the first list is not on the second list, that's what we're going to focus on, being less emotionally attached to. So I don't really care deeply about the whole house being clean. but I care deeply about spending time with my children, right? So, but the house being clean is a trigger for me emotionally. So that's something that I'm literally actively working on with myself is, trying to eliminate something that's not on the second list.
Yeah, and I'll touch on mine too. So this can relate directly to the perspective that I shared earlier. If I think about something that really triggered me emotionally, it was social experiences. And I would be so overstimulated or worried about past social experiences and how'd I do and blah blah blah. But when I thought about things that I really cared about, what people think of me actually wasn't very high on a list. It wasn't even the top things that I really cared about. So why am I wasting my mental energy on this thing that I don't actually care about? So, by kind of removing, this care or giving an F about what people thought about me, it actually freed me to kind of be myself and be free in those social situations.
Yeah, love that. And now to the listeners or viewers, if you have any questions about, as you go through this exercise and kind of just think through this, you can always email us at netgainspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's netgainspodcast@gmail.com. Garrett, lovely Garrett, will put that up on the screen for us.
And you won't care at all about doing it.
Yeah.
Just kidding,
We'll
Garrett.
just do it so easily.
Yeah, I know. We have a motivational quote. So this is actually from the book. We don't always control what happens to us, but we always control how we interpret what happens to us as well as how we respond.
I love this quote.
Hit me.
That's why I swapped out the quote you had. I swapped out the quote you had with this one.
It's a good one. Yeah, give it to us, Roger. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah. I'm a big happiness is a choice guy. And I know that's like a very loaded thing to say because yes, very bad things happen to people that it's not like you're not allowed to cry or be upset or have a bad day. Right. But it's very interesting to me how the same action, the same thing can happen to multiple people. And almost every time you'll see very different responses. One person gets super angry about it. The other person gets sad about it. The other person's like, oh, whatever, right? Based on their own, what they're perceiving about that and how much it affects them. And so I just feel like there's so much, what we're trying to get across in this podcast, generally speaking, is how mindset can control everything, like your outlook on life, your outlook on your sports, your outlook on your own success and failures and adversity and all of these things in your ego. And there's so much power in the mind. It's unbelievable. And so to me, this quote is so powerful because it's something I believe in super deeply, which is like, you have so much more control than you are giving yourself credit for having in terms of how you're feeling and how you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
And
totally agree.
Yeah. So, important quote for me.
I love that. I'm not even going to add to it. I thought you just nailed that.
Oh, thanks, man. What a guy. What is before we do an outro, what's the quote on today on your whiteboard? I can't read it.
Oh, one of my favorites. Here, I'll bring this over. This was actually coined, I think, by my brother. I don't know where it came from. Failure is the condiment that gives success its flavor.
I love that.
And look, we suffer a lot of failure in life, but that's what makes life taste that much better, is the lessons learned from that failure, how you apply it to your wins, and how it makes you grow, improve, and just keep on winning, baby.
There you go. And you know what people don't know, the hype video that we made to sort of launch this podcast, that match where we got all that footage from, we lost.
We did lose that, yeah.
We did lose that, but we looked good losing.
We looked really good winning the first set.
Yeah, we did.
There is an all-time story lesson from that tournament that actually there's kind of a lot of lessons we learned from that tournament, but I think we'll probably save them because we could probably talk for the next hour on all the things that happened over that weekend.
I would say that's one. There's ones that you can't tease it and then not say anything. I think, which story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell the
well, I think the
sandbagging story?
I don't want to tell that story. Uh, I think that is a more relevant story in terms of lessons learned. But I mean, I think your performance on the qualifier the day before was maybe the most mentally tough performance I've ever been a part of in sports. So I'll give you that compliment.
I appreciate it. I think I blacked out. I could just fill up my ego even more.
Yeah, I'll give
Tell
it.
me what I did.
I'll say it. 'Cause I don't want to. The other one's embarrassing for me, so we'll just not talk about that one. But yeah. So
We'll get back to that in another episode.
I mean, look, I don't even know if it relates to this episode, but maybe it does. Maybe we'll see. We'll tie it in at the end. I brought Roger out of retirement in 2022. I was training in Connecticut for the AVP, and kind of like was living near him, and he hadn't played volleyball in a couple of years. He retired. I was like, Roger, we're having a good time out here training. You could get out and train with us. And so Roger slowly starts training a little bit week over week, and then a few months later in November, he hits me up and he's like, hey, there's a pro tournament in November. Let's play it. And, it's November. It's like 50 degrees, 40 degrees back in New England where we're living and training. And so we're getting out in like sweatpants and sweatshirts and putting in the work. And we fly to
5 a.m.
California. Yep, 5 a.m., couple early sessions. We fly to California to play this pro tournament. And, Roger, you had played one tournament in 2 years or something like that, maybe two tournaments in 2 years. And, we're in this qualifier and all the pressure's on him. Nobody knows who he is, no offense. And he's getting every serve this whole tournament. I don't touch a ball in the two matches we play, basically. And Roger's getting every ball. And the first match we play, it was really nervy, like tentative. We grind it out and win this match in 3. And we have our next match, and this is to make it into the main draw of the pro tournament. And it's against the 4 seed. So, no one who knows who we are. We're just two guys from Connecticut, just flew out to California. And again, Roger gets every single serve, sides out relentlessly for an hour straight, is just hitting the ball as hard as he can every time, basically. And it was just like a super proud moment for me, honestly, because, there was a certain point in that match when I didn't have a lot of control over the outcome. It was kind of on you to win or lose the game by just siding out every time. And I almost like gave up control, which is not something that I like to do very often. And I was like, well, you know what? If we're going to make it into the main draw, Roger's going to have to really do his thing, and I can't really control the outcome of this. And it was such a rewarding experience for me to watch you come through time and time and time and time and time and time again, and then win the match. And that was almost like a learning experience for me too, to be like, oh my God, I can like give up control to people and they can come through. And it made it even more rewarding than almost when I come through myself. Just giving the control to somebody else and watching them come through was a really cool experience for me. So yeah.
See, I don't remember any of that. What I remember is trying to give you a hug after we qualified, and you just like being like, "Get off of me!" All right. I've been here before.
No. There
I was like crying. Hug. I'm like, I freaking qualified right on the beach.
Yeah. There was maybe we'll put the video up. There was a lingering hug, and it was. I thought the hug was proper length of time, and then I tried to pull away, and you didn't let go, and I was trying to like go and like shake the guy's hand.
That's what I remember. I remember just holding you.
You just kept holding me. And then you called your wife and you like sprinted to the water and called your wife and started crying. And yeah, good times.
Yeah, that was, I'll never forget that moment. Then we played the next day in the videos that you see in the
that's okay.
video.
Let's just tie this piece into not giving a
stop
damn.
There. We did great.
Yeah.
It was a great time. I'll never forget that. Definitely a life moment.
And well, no, so I do want to tie this in and make this episode relevant. So I do think that you probably did not give a F about the outcome of that as you were in the moment in that match.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember just bombing every serve.
Yeah.
Like I was just hitting every serve as hard as I humanly could. And it was working. So I do remember just hitting every ball as hard as I could everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was just having a great time doing it. So
it was fun. There was almost no pressure. It was just kind of like us having fun out there and not giving an F about the outcome.
And because we threw it so last minute together, we were just like, I think you were supposed to play another tournament. I was like, no, dude. If I'm flying out to California, you're playing and you're canceling whatever you're doing. And yeah, we just like threw it together. So I think it was just, yeah, having that mental release of like being at a different point in my life, competing at that point versus like the earlier days, pre-retirement, quote unquote. Yeah, I think I was playing better then than I was when I was jumping even higher earlier in life, you know? So.
I love it. There's an extra segment for you guys. Did anyone stay and listen to that? I don't know.
Who cares? We're having a great time.
Well, you know what? Yeah, we're not giving an F about it, dude. We're just here having a good time chatting on a podcast.
There you go.
All right. Well,
all right, man.
We'll
Play
cut
us
it
out.
for you. Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. So super grateful to everybody that listened. We hope that you learned one thing from this podcast. It helped one person out there. And we'll see you guys on the next episode, which we don't even know what it is yet, but I'm sure we'll plan it and then make it happen. And by the way, episode counter, this is episode 2. So we need to get 2 more episodes in to be in the top 10% of podcasters ever. Countdown is on.
Yep. We'll make it.
Let's go.
We'll make it. Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Yo!